up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to the Warframe video. So I know I'm super late with this one, but I got the Tenet Plinx for you today, and I've actually done a lot of testing. I've had this thing maxed out for like a month, so I've done lots of testing. We have the Impact Plinx 60%, we have the Heat Plinx 60%, and the Magnetic Plinx 60%, okay? I'm going to tell you which Plinx elements I recommend to you, and we're also going to show some builds and stuff too, so I hope that you enjoyed this video. But first, we have a sponsor for today's video. Let's get into that right now. Let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, Yahaha Studio. Yahaha is a new user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experiences. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their own virtual experiences with no coding knowledge. Simply access the Smart Assets library, which is about 1 million different items to choose from, and make your own dream game a reality. If you look in the background right now, I'm working on my own horror game, the first couple steps of it. You can edit the behavior and AI of these monsters. I just found one in the asset library here. And yeah, you can push the playtest button to see how it's going to be going. You can give it different names, different types of monsters and stuff like that. I've always wanted to make a horror game or a zombie game, so this is a pretty nice way to get used to how this type of thing would work. Additionally, Yahaha does live community sessions to help creators enhance their metaverse building skills. You can click the link below to check out Yahaha and start building your own dream games for free. Let's get back to the content. Thanks so much to Yahaha for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so the Tenet Plinx. This is going to be the newest Tenet weapon they've added. Basically, one of the only new Tenet weapons they've ever added. And as far as its base stats, they're pretty decently high, actually. If we look at what we have here, we've got 44% crit chance and a 3 times multiplier at base. Some of the highest crit stats in the entire game. If you stack things correctly, you can actually get red crits with this weapon with no Riven. And yeah, that's pretty decent. As far as the base stats of the weapon, it's got puncture and heat on the primary shot. So with no Kuva element lich at all, we have heat on this weapon. So keep that in mind when you're modding or picking your element. And we're going to talk about the combined elements later. On the alt fire shot, there's 2 components. It's going to be a charge shot with a impact, which will have impact damage, and also an explosion afterwards, which will have radiation damage. So here's what things you need to keep in mind. So the primary shot, semi-auto, pretty normal, generic, pistol thing. Alt fire, charge shot into explosion shot, pulls enemies in and then explodes. And here's the thing about Kuva elements and Tenet weapons in general, guys. You know how I showed you this thing has base heat before any Kuva elements are in effect? That means that when you're picking element, you need to keep in mind, remember this thing has heat built in. When you pick a Kuva element for this weapon, or a Tenet element for this weapon, the element is added last. So if I was to take a Toxin Plinx, which I would never recommend a Toxin Plinx, by the way, but if I was to take a Toxin Plinx and try it out, my build would technically require multiple elemental mods to get a viral heat setup if I did. So I'd say as far as elements, the number 1 element I'm recommend to you is going to be the magnetic roll. I've got a heat one right here. The reason a heat or magnetic one's going to be really good is because if we look at what it has with no mods on it, it's not very different from itself. It just has a higher heat weighting. And now the alt fire shot has built-in heat. If we were to go with a toxin roll here, this thing would have innate gas damage on the primary shot, which I don't really like that very much personally. So if that's useful to you, you want innate gas damage on the primary shot, be my guest. But on this heat ribbon, or this heat roll right here, we've got viral heat with only 2 elemental mods. That's the big thing. If I was running a toxin one, I wanted to do viral heat, I would need to take off one of these mods for another elemental mod. So this is a viral heat build right here, pretty straightforward. We're going to show the impact version in a little bit here. The impact one's the one I mainly use. But yeah, the magnetic one's going to be very similar. You won't have to waste another mod for viral heat on a magnetic roll either. Now, we've got galvanized shot. Keep in mind, this does not work on the explosion damage, the increased condition overload for guns, but it will work on the primary damage for the primary shot and also the direct impact of the explosion shot. So it's still pretty good. I'm going to keep it on here, but you technically could take this off for something else. Additionally, since we have, it's draining our whole magazine and expending the last bullet, synth charge, I believe this is intended. The way this weapon works, this makes me believe it's intended. It drains all the bullets of the magazine, then fires them out in a big shot. right? Like, what? That sounds normal to me, and then it gives you increased damage on the final bullet. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no reason this should get nerfed to not work. But yeah, this is going to make it where you do big extra damage. Also, Ice Storm gives us more magazine size and lets us build into our viral we were trying to go for. So it's all just stuff building into what we wanted to mod for here. Energizing Shot, pretty much one of the only Xless mods that seemed kind of decent here. By the way, don't max out Energizing Shot. It's not worth it. But you can basically shoot energy orbs to pick them up and give them to yourself. Also, we'll work on the Alt Fire Shot, picking up orbs too. We've got secondary Deadhead. I'm going to show you another arcane that you can actually use to get red crits on this thing with no Riven. So this is going to be the viral heat build. Now keep in mind, these guys are not really meant for a viral heat build. And this thing does not pump out too many procs. But yeah, this is what you're getting after a couple shots here. He's dead. Now we have a Deadhead stack. Now he's going to die a lot faster. And of course, this is the primary shot, not the alt fire shot. And as you notice, there was basically no viral procs at all. This thing does not have that much status chance. But now we're basically a two-shot territory. Now if I use the alt fire shot, pulls them in, explodes. That's where if you have an impact Tenet Plinx, you can get slash procs from that. But those guys are already dead anyway. So not too bad, actually. I am going all for headshots, too. Let's go for some, like, body shots here. A pretty serviceable weapon, I'd say. Now, let's show the arcane I was talking about, where we can get some red crits. Now, this is technically going to be less damage, but I've actually been enjoying it quite a bit. So, we've got Cascadia Overcharge. You might remember me complaining about this one a couple months ago. So what Cascadia Overcharge does, when your overshields are active, you get increased crit chance by 300%. Since this thing has so much crit chance at base, basically you're getting red crits with no Riven. I have a Riven for this thing with crit chance, will make you have even more red crits, but I'll just show it. I'm also going to use Tharos Strike here too, just so you can see how it is with unarmored enemies, and then we'll go to the impact roll. Okay, so as you can see right here, no overshields active, nothing's happening. But then we get overshields from, you know, Augur mods or whatever, and now we're getting red crits. Red crits are nice. And then the alt fire shot, red crits too. That's what you can kind of get if you don't have like really a ton of status chance. Those guys took rad procs and one viral proc. So all well and good. You can technically mod this roll for corrosive heat too. And look, that guy's not even dead. So I'm going to show you my favorite roll on the Plinx, and then we'll get some gameplay footage up. And this is going to be the 60% Tenet Plinx. That was just a 60% heat roll you just saw. Like I said, I literally after this video is done, guys, I'm going back to my ship and turning this heat one back into a magnetic one. I want to test out all three. I've tested 60% heat, 60% magnetic, and 60% impact. And you're about to see the impact one right here. So the difference here is that now why would you even, like, what impact? Impact is bad damage. Why would I ever go for that? Because there's this mod called Hemorrhage. Impact status effects have a 35% chance to become, or to apply a slash proc, and it's 2 times the effect when the weapon has low fire rate. This thing has low enough fire rate on the alt fire shot that it's still going to be fine. It doesn't have honestly, the fire rate's pretty fast, I guess, for the primary shot technically, so it's not going to be proccing there as much. But still, you're not really using the primary shot for slash procs anyway, although you can get some sometimes. So we're still using Synth Charge. As far as I'm aware, it's supposed to work this way. Our normal crit mods, and we've got Hemorrhage on here to make it so we get slash procs, and we've got Saxon Spittle, increasing our overall impact damage, and also increasing our status chance. It technically also has a special effect on the set bonus, but not really worried about that today. So we have a 79 impact damage on here, and also the alt fire shot. Now this explosion does not normally have impact unless you have an impact Plinx, so keep that in mind, okay? If you are trying to poo-poo the impact Plinx without trying it out, you are doing it wrong, because I've seen plenty of content creators be like, oh, I theory crafted the Tenet Plinx, and the impact one would be bad. You didn't actually test it, from what I understand, so. Let's get those overshields. Now, this is not with Deadhead, so keep in mind this will not be as strong as it should be. And as you can see right there, finally got a slash proc, and the game almost crashed because it was so, it was such a low chance to proc. So there we go. Some low slash procs, but let's see how it is now with the alt fire shot. 44k, 29k. If we were to viral proc them up, I don't even know if I have a viral procer on me. I've seen like 200k plus slash procs, so pretty decent. And of course, we are using a galvanized shot, so if we do get some kills here, now we can start hitting really big numbers. Like I said, some of the biggest numbers I've seen have been like over 100k, and then we're going to do some Steel Path gameplay. And you can see how truly nasty this thing is. I couldn't find an enemy that could survive. Honestly, I couldn't find an enemy to survive. The only thing that would survive was like a Demolist. And we'll do the same build with Deadhead, just so you can see that. Keep in mind, Deadhead does not proc off of slash proc kills or damage over time kills. So you technically need to get base damage kills with this to keep these stacks going, which is why maybe run dexterity, maybe run something else. We're going to actually just armor strip to get those base damage kills. And of course, you do still have your heat from the innate heat of this weapon. Okay, I don't think they're all armor stripped. Alright, so 86k, 2.5 mil. Those are pretty normal numbers, actually. And of course, these guys are dead before the slash proc even happens. So let's see if we can get one of these guys to actually survive. See, they already died. That's the problem. They already are dead by the time I want to see this slash proc. So I need to, like... I would need to go, like, late game in endurance to actually find an enemy that survives hilariously, besides maybe a Demolist. But Demolists are kind of weird in the first place. So let's get some footage. Keep in mind, like I said, I've had this thing for a while. So this is about 3 weeks ago. And we're on the Steel Path 30 minutes in. 30 minutes in on the Steel Path conjunction. So you've got level 200, 200 plus Steel Path corrupted. And we're going to talk about if I would recommend this to you. So, I've actually been surprisingly enjoying this Tenet Plinx. The impact roll, specifically. Also the magnetic one. You know why the magnetic one I really enjoy? Because there's this type of enemy called a Guardian Eximus. They're usually only for the Corpus faction. What they will do, they are basically the anti-AoE Eximus. It's not very noticeable all the time, but they technically have massive DR against AoE. And they also are usually, like I said, they're usually a Corpus enemy. So having magnetic procs against their shield would be really good. I find the magnetic Plinx to be one of the best weapons to take care of them. Not only is it good for single target with that primary shot, having some magnetic damage built in to basically burst down their shield, but also once I've killed that Guardian Eximus and the AoE damage reduction is like removed basically, then the Plinx alt fire shot will be nice for killing enemies. Now it does have a really, really bad reload speed. After you fire the alt shot for the Plinx, it just feels like you're sitting around waiting for like 5 seconds. And reload speed will influence that. So if you want to mod for reload speed, be my guest. I like to go for max damage most of the time. So in the end, what element would I recommend to you? As a normal player of the game, not trying to like just goof off with other random builds, I would recommend to you, and this is the order of recommendation. Number 1, magnetic Plinx. If you just want one answer, the magnetic Plinx is the way to go for you. But let's say that you want to maybe experiment a little bit. By the way, I was just standing still there to try and see if the enemy would survive. If you want to experiment some more, I'd say number 2 is going to be the impact Plinx or the heat Plinx. The heat Plinx is good if you just want to do like a viral heat build or corrosive heat build, all-arounder kind of setup. The impact Plinx, you can technically do those builds, but it will be... It will be, not as good technically. You're going to still have a good amount of procs, but this thing has really low status chance, it feels like. So you're not really pumping out as many procs as you would hope. So I'd say, yeah, number 1, magnetic. Number 2, heat or impact. Probably leaning towards heat, honestly. And then impact is more just like a for fun one, but it's not bad. People saying it's bad, I feel like no, people didn't test. They're like, I just got to get this video out. I'm not going to test the impact Plinx. Let's just pretend we theory crafted it. As someone that actually did test it and still has the impact Plinx, it is good, okay? It is good. You can't usually get these types of big damage slash procs from a secondary like this, and because mostly because there's no hunter munitions for secondaries, but the other one being that, this thing has crazy high crit chance. It doesn't have the best, status chance, so and it has no forced impact procs on the primary shot, so you're basically relying on there's forced impact on the explosion shot, but not the explosion of it. So you're basically focusing on that, the forced impact procs of that. So things like the Spear X or the Catch Moon and stuff like that, those have forced impact procs. Those are going to be more reliable. But this thing is an AoE. It's a potential AoE slash proc with big red crit numbers too if you go down the Cascadia overcharge route. So really fun weapon. It honestly should have been a Tenet lens, but it wasn't. Or it should have been a Tenet Amprax, but it wasn't. We got this instead. So at least there won't be able to be a second Tenet Plinx. Maybe we're more likely to have the Tenet lens now. But yeah, pretty fun. I still haven't found an enemy that will survive it besides a Demolist on the Steel Path with the impact explosion shot. And I believe Synth Charge is intended. I would be quite annoyed if they did remove that. Oh, look, that guy finally survived. So we found one guy that survived technically. And, it's second shot, he's definitely dead after that. So I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out that link in the description for the sponsor of today's video, Yahaha. And I appreciate all the support, guys. Take it easy. Peace.